You're listening to Unmuted Love. Hi there, I'm C. Eshelman, and with 35 years as a marriage and family therapist and 25 years as a parent of 2 children I brought home from the foster care system, I want to welcome you here to Unmuted Love Podcast, the one place where nothing is off limits to say out loud about parenting children from difficult beginnings.
Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute, long it over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you want to be for a minute, don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you?
Sometimes it's real sweet around here, and sometimes it ain't so pretty, because this is 100% Unmuted Love. So let's go.
You'll be just
Hey parents, this is C. Get the help you need to end destructive and chaotic behavior in your home while parenting children from difficult beginnings. I know you need help, and the Love Plus parenting model actually works. I'm inviting you to work with me personally for 6 months in my virtual therapeutic parent program, and I guarantee you results or 100% of your investment back. How is that for a blue ribbon deal? I'm looking forward to working with you. See you on the inside. Hey, welcome to Unmuted Love, everyone. Happy New Year. This is C. Eshelman. Yep, I'm here for my very first podcast in 2025. I can hardly believe how fast the year rolled around, and I'm pretty sure I said that last year too, so I think my life is just running downhill. I'm not a big New Year's resolution person. That's mostly because I break them really within about 2 weeks of setting them. And I don't like to disappoint myself, so I stopped making them altogether rather than trying harder to keep them. That definitely says something about me, I know, but I'm not going to go there. Okay, so instead of resolutions, though, I can't keep them, so I don't make them. But I do usually pick one word to bring me into focus, right? Last year's word was delight. And it was a really, really great word to focus on all year. I wrote it on my mirror in big letters and I read it every day for a whole year, maybe once or twice, or maybe more than that, a day. I realized that it helped me look at delight everywhere I went. So if I was talking to a friend, I noticed that I was looking for the delight. Or if I saw nature, I noticed, well, I was looking for what was beautiful in it. Or if I was looking at, something in my house or some flowers or even clothing, I would look at the beautiful colors, the beautiful shapes, the sizes, the textures, all of that. And it was bringing me such delight. And it was because delight was on the tip of my tongue all the time. And I really appreciated that about the word. And so, whatever you focus on, it brings that more into your awareness. It keeps the darkness out for me if my word is bright. So delight is bright for me. The times are a little grim sometimes if you listen to the news or if you're dealing with your children who come from difficult beginnings, it's a little hard to stay upbeat and happy. And so what you focus on really matters. So anyway, delight was a lovely word last year. And I found myself talking to my Love Matters parenting group. I was telling them that I was trying to think up a new word to focus on for 2025, but I loved the old word so much. I really loved it so much. I was having trouble finding a new word. And then one of the parents just said, "Hey, you don't have to have a new word. Keep the old one." Well, that never occurred to me. Isn't that funny just how many boxes we can be living in without realizing it? So anyway, I decided that that was a really good idea. So I'm keeping delight for another year, and maybe I'll just keep delight for the rest of my life. I don't know. That seems like a pretty good word to just be able to focus on every day. So anyway, I'm not suggesting that you create a word for yourself, but I do suggest that you notice what you're focusing on so that you can choose how you feel versus choosing to focus on things that are bringing you distress, and then you end up feeling more distress. And that's a fact. So what you focus on, you get more of, not necessarily in the real world, but actually in terms of what your mind looks for. But on a different note, I've been thinking about how fast the world's changing, right? It's really changing fast and right before our eyes. I don't think it's ever changed this quickly before, at least not in my lifetime. And I'm getting up there in age, so I've seen a lot of years go by. But lately, it just seems like technology is moving us really fast into the future. So with the use of AI, I think we are really moving into another world, and we need to be paying pretty close attention to it. I was thinking about the world changing fast, and it brought my attention back to something that I focus on often in the past, which was social media and how that changed everything, some for the better and a lot for the worse. When we look at it in a binary way, all good or all bad, then we lose the ability to truly think about it holistically. So these days, our children often know more about some things than parents do, right? And it's different to be in this position as a parent so early in our children's lives. It's typical for children to question their parents and their parents' ideas and their parents' thoughts and beliefs and values. That's developmental. It used to be that came in the teen years. And nowadays it kind of comes much earlier because of social media. Our children are exposed to ideas and concepts and ways of thinking that are different than their families really early because they have so much contact with the outside world. That's not necessarily bad, but it can be. And I just want us to be paying attention to what it means for us. Some of us are more tech savvy than others, and most of our kids, though, can get around most of the guardrails that we put in place to keep them safe. Now, I've been known to poo poo social media entirely. I was completely against giving kids access to the internet and social media on their phones. I just was like, period, no, don't do it. I felt like a doomsayer standing in the middle of the street shouting, the end is near, right? Because I was seeming like such a throwback and everybody else was moving forward and all the kids were carrying around cell phones. And I was like, okay, I can't seem to get anyone to listen to me. That this just seems bad. Honestly, I could see the ways addiction to fast moving words and pictures was interfering in family relationships. And parents were telling me they had no power to stop the downhill slide. The amount of helplessness about it was pretty palpable. So most parents just threw up their hands and gave in with the thought, hey, it's everywhere and we can't stop our kids from using it. I understand that. I spent the first 10 years of the smartphone phenomenon telling parents to buck up and put their foot down on technology until their kids were emotionally old enough to manage the seduction of the internet. Well, as you can imagine, that went over like sand in the wind. I had a lot of sand in my mouth. Then there were those people who loved the new freedom of connection with people all over the world at our fingertips. You know what? I like that too. I'm a gadget type of person. You should see my kitchen. I have a gadget that will do everything, and most of them I haven't actually used in years because, well, yeah, a knife is good enough. Still, a new iPhone or a new Apple Watch reveal, and I am right there, happily forking out hundreds of dollars for the next best thing. I caught the bug a long time ago, and I was all in. I had more Apple products on my body and desk at any given time than Tim Cook, probably. I'm certain of it. Frankly, that's not past tense. I'm looking around my desk right now and I can see I'm using a laptop. I have a watch on my arm that's an Apple. I have right next to my laptop a cell phone that's an Apple cell phone. I also have a desktop that's Apple. And I probably have other products that I'm just not thinking about right now, but it's a lot of product, right? It's a lot of gadgets and it's all connected. It's all wired up to Wi-Fi. I am never alone. Actually, I bought some things called Faraday bags so that I put all my electronics inside the bag at night and I cover my computers with Faraday blankets so that none of the Wi-Fi can connect to the internet in my house while I sleep. And I think that sounds a little crazy maybe, but I get the best night's sleep when I do that. And so I've been doing that now for about a year. And my sleep is so much better. I don't know if that is made up in my mind or if it's true. But anyway, I'm still going to do it because I like sleeping well. I have started to adopt the same kind of stance as many parents. Well, it's everywhere, so we might as well embrace it. The all for it mindset personally brought me more and more work at all hours of the day and night, not to mention across weekends and vacations, anywhere in the world I happen to be. I found myself always on, just like the iPhone child. I was hooked and I really couldn't get off for fear of not being timely enough for my clients or for tech savvy users, or simply just didn't want to miss out on being there. It's a weird form of FOMO. It actually became a thing for me. I had a fear of missing out, and I don't even know on what. What, more work? I had fear of missing out on more work. I don't know. I have never been a social media person. I never flip through Facebook or Instagram or any of that because I find it a little boring. But even I was starting to look at things on various new platforms. So yeah, I skipped Facebook and Instagram, but I noticed I could get pretty hooked on watching TikTok, or I could get hooked on something on Discord. And it was just kind of strange. And so I noticed I'm becoming somebody else. Who am I? So I am a person in a fast paced modern time, and I get to figure this out for myself in a way that makes sense. I also am in a position to help parents like you deal with this in your families rather than simply being a no on tech for kids advisor, which I think I have previously really been, which really didn't help you that much. So some parents feel more empowered by the safety nets like Bark phones and Gab watches, to name only two in the tech pond. There are a lot of new attempts to safeguard the ocean of information at our children's fingertips. And I'm all for any and all of those safeguards. They change every day, though, and so I am not in a position to advise you on the best. I tried to do that a while ago to just stay up to date on the best things that I could advise you on, and they would change in a week. And so I couldn't keep up with it. So I'm not going to try and do that here. There are plenty of things that you can look for on the internet, which is so funny to say. But all devices do have parental controls, and no parental control on tech is absolute. I think the true answer is with parents, though. Parents becoming the guardians of their children's minds. So just as we all now start early teaching our children about safe touch and safe body practices, right? We need to begin early educating our kids about safe guarding their minds, the positives and the dangers of social media and internet relationships. We need to influence their minds from the beginning of giving our phone to them to entertain themselves with when they're toddlers. And yes, everybody at some point probably does that. So I'm not saying you're bad if you do it. I'm saying we are making a mistake if we don't begin very early in our children's lives educating them to what's real and what's not real on the internet. That's how I come to this stance now at this point in my life. Yeah, it is here. It's not going away, and you can't really keep it out of their hands, especially since all schools have pretty much gone to using laptops for their kids to learn on. So in that regard, they can't ever really be away from the internet. But we are influencing them, and we can, if we start early, we can help them be able to see the difference between something that really doesn't fit with our values, or something that really doesn't make sense, or something that's so outlandish and not real that we need to learn how we can discard things, right? So we need to prevent harm through early education. Children need help distinguishing truth from lie, fake from real, real from surreal, honest from deception, gimmick from information, entertainment from education. They need us to sit down with them and see what they're watching and have a conversation about it. Just like you might if you came across a provocative scene in a PG movie. It's like, oops, let's shut this off for a second and talk about what you just saw, because that's how you would deal with it, right? If you have a 6-year-old and you think they're watching a safe movie on TV that's a cartoon even, and you look at it and it's like, okay, no, that's not really what I want my 6-year-old to see right now, then you turn it off and you have a talk. Not a big talk. You don't blow it up and make it a big deal. You just say, hey, you know what that is? That's something that's for grown-ups to look at and really not for kids. So do you have any questions about it? Most 6-year-olds are going to be like, nope. I'm like, okay, good. So let's go. You don't have to make a big deal out of it, but you do need to talk about it. So we would have done that all along, right? With any kind of TV or movie where something was out of sync with our values. So those are always really uncomfortable conversations to have when you are thinking that the movie is safe for their eyes, but that's okay. Your children will remember you as a parent who made sure they understood things. My daughter actually talks about things she learned from me that makes me feel so good sometimes, even though I really know I was teaching her these things specifically. For example, when she was 18, I heard her tell a friend, my mom taught me early to believe in myself and to never let anyone keep me down. That's why I'm a feminist. I'm like, really? That's awesome. I did that? Well, of course I did. She watched me live my life, and that's how I live. I never actually really taught her that specifically, but it's a legacy. And I know that I've left her with that legacy, and I'm proud of that because I want her to think that no one should be able to keep her down, because that's not good for her. She doesn't deserve that, and there are better things. So, what legacy will you give your children about social norms and social mores and expectations that may or not be in their best interest? How will you do that? In my opinion, that's the gift of ubiquitous screens. Since they're everywhere, we are always in a position to add a little positive commentary about how they can look at what they are seeing or what they are believing. And when they see it, we can question it with them. Just like when I sat with my 10-year-old at the time to watch Super Size Me. We talked all about McDonald's. That at the time was their favorite happy place, like it is a lot of kids. They really didn't ask to go back there for some time after we had that conversation. We even still kind of joke about it today, about the nuggets being made of pink slime. Now, I really don't remember if that came from the movie or not, but my family firmly believes it did. Critical thinking has to be taught, and we're responsible for teaching them to our children as they grow. It is best to start this process early, before their brains start to prune back in adolescence and they decide, this is who I am. For example, this is who I am. I'm a person who has relationships with anime avatars on the internet. This is who I am. I'm a person who breaks rules like the people I see on the internet. I'm a person who can't feel feelings like people I see in Discord. I'm a person who only likes Legos, and there's a place for that in the world, so I'm just going to like Legos, and that's it. Those are all extreme examples, but also very real examples that I have seen personally. Critical thinking skills are simple, so I'm going to walk you through them here. 1. With a child, to start a critical thinking process, just number 1, brainstorm all the ways one can see or think about something, right? This thing, this idea, this way of being in the world, right? 2, list the pros and cons of each way of seeing or thinking about it, right? What's good about it? What's not good about it? Actively choose a position or a solution, depending on what it is you're talking about. And then 4, act on the decision. Okay, I'm going to try that on for a while. I'm going to start believing this and see how it feels. And 5, evaluate the outcome after the action is taken or the thinking has been tried on for a while. Here's a simplistic example, right? On a TikTok video, it insists that vaping weed is not harmful to teens. So a critical thinking process might sound something like this. Ask your teen to list everything they know or don't know about weed and find out as much information as they can about how weed impacts teens. And if they don't want to do that, do it with them. 2, once they have the facts, pro and con vaping weed. What's the good about it? What's not good about it? And based on all the pros and all the cons, decide what is in their best interest at this point in time. Now, they're going to do whatever they're going to do, so don't really think that you can stop them, but you will at least have gone through a critical thinking process with them. Decide on an action. Will they avoid weed, or will they use it intermittently, or will they use it every day? Evaluate after a couple of weeks what their experience is. Now, you may not have this kind of open conversation with your teens about weed. Some families have an open conversation about it and some don't. So I'm picking a pretty provocative example, but I just want you to know you can have provocative conversations with kids who are doing things you don't want them to do, but you can have it in a critical thinking way so that you're not just saying, nope, you'll never do that. And of course, they'll just do it behind your back. That's how teens operate, as you know, and our kids are no different. So you might think your child would never say one thing to your face and do another behind your back, but I think deep down you know that that's not true, because kids do what kids are going to do. And if we can help them have a better way to critically think about what they're doing, at least we have helped them inform themselves on how to make a good decision. Now, the result of this critical thinking on weed here may actually really disappoint you if they come up with a decision you don't like, right? However, the critical thinking is the skill that will serve them the rest of their lives, even if they decide to continue vaping weed for now. You can do the same process for social media or any other thing. When kids are armed with critical mind and a process to evaluate decisions, they make better decisions, right? They're better equipped to face all the things in life that are hard choices in the moment. I don't know, parenting is amazingly hard, and yet quite wonderful, isn't it? When you realize you can do it in a way that's lasting and non-punitive. You can only do the best you can. Our kids have a trajectory of their own, so they're going to make decisions that you wouldn't make for them. And that's painful. That's the painful part of being a parent in the teen years. It's the wonderful part of being a parent in the adult years. At least that's how it feels to me. So I think I will get off my soapbox right now and let you get back to the fun stuff, parenting your children with low demand, solid boundaries and love, and hopefully a little more critical thinking. So I'm wishing you the very best, loving, hopeful, delightful new year in 2025. Thank you for listening to Unmuted Love. I'll see you again next week.
Stop for a minute. Stop and breathe for a minute. Long it over your head. Try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute. Who you want to be for a minute. Don't get over your head. You're like everyone else, aren't you? You could gain from being a bit nicer. Know when to talk and when to shut your mouth.
The Unmuted Love podcast is hosted by me, C. Eshelman, attachment and trauma specialist at the Attach Place in Sacramento, California. Our podcast producer is the amazing Saya Clark, and our theme song is Nicer by Houses on the Hill, licensed through Epidemic Sound. Thank you for being such loyal listeners here on Unmuted Love. I'll see you all next week.
You'll be just fine.